My dad handed me his truck keys 3 days before the wedding and said, "Take her to the airport, would you? Pick up your grandmother." I said sure. That's all he asked. Drive to arrivals, get Nana, bring her back to the house. I got there 40 minutes early because his truck pulls left and I didn't want to hurry. She came out of the terminal with one small suitcase and a cardigan buttoned wrong, and when she saw me, she stopped walking and just stood there with her hand over her mouth. I took her bag. On the drive, she barely spoke. Somewhere on the highway, I realized she was crying, quietly, staring out the passenger window. "Nana, you okay?" She shook her head, wouldn't look at me. When I pulled into the driveway, she got out before I'd fully stopped, went straight inside and shut the door. I stood in that driveway for 10 minutes trying to figure out what I'd done wrong on a 26-minute drive. Inside, the house had gone strange. My Aunt Delia was in the kitchen with her arms folded. My cousin Ross wouldn't meet my eye. My father was standing at the counter and he looked at me the way you look at a stranger who's wandered into your yard. "Dad, what happened?" "You know what you did. I picked her up. That's it. She got in, I drove, we came home." Delia made a sound in her throat. Unbelievable. My sister came down the stairs, saw me, and turned around and went back up. I went to my room and sat on the bed with my phone. I texted my best friend and told him what happened. All of it. Every detail. The airport, the drive, the crying. I asked him if he could make sense of any of it. He wrote back, "Man, I don't even know what to say to you. That's messed up." I read that message probably 15 times. My hands were shaking. At dinner, nobody spoke to me. 7 people at a table, and I was a chair with a plate. Nana didn't come down. My father passed me the salt without looking at me, and something in my chest cracked open. I stood up. Somebody has to tell me what I did. I'm not guessing anymore. The silence sat there. Then my grandmother spoke from the doorway. Nobody had heard her come down. "You didn't take the long way," she said. I turned around. "What?" "Off the highway, past the water tower and the old mill." Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet. "That's the way we always came home." "Nana, I didn't know. Your grandfather drove me that way from that airport for 41 years, every single time. It was the last drive we took together." She held onto the door frame. "I asked your father to send someone who knew. I asked him to send someone who'd remember." I looked at my father. He was staring at the tablecloth. "You never told me," I said. "Any of you. Not once." "You should have known," Delia said. "How?" My voice came out louder than I meant. "How would I know that? Who told me?" "Grandpa died when I was 6. I was 6 years old." Nobody answered. And then, very quietly, my father said, "I forgot you were that young." The whole room stopped. He looked up at me, and I watched something come apart in his face. The realization landing on him all at once, in front of everyone. "I forgot," he said again. "I've been so angry at you for 2 hours, and you weren't even old enough to remember him." Delia opened her mouth and closed it. I looked around that table at every person who'd spent the afternoon deciding I was a bad man, and I understood that not one of them had asked me a single question. They'd been told I failed something, and they'd all agreed, and none of them had bothered to check whether I'd ever been given the test. Nana crossed the room. She was so small. She put her hand flat against my chest. "That was cruel of me," she said. "I punished a boy for a thing he was never taught." I put my hand over hers, and I couldn't say anything at all. The next morning, she knocked on my door at 6:30, holding her coat. "Get the keys," she said. We drove out to the airport with the sun coming up, pulled into the arrivals loop, and turned around like I'd just picked her up all over again. Then she pointed, and I took the exit off the highway, past the water tower, past the shell of the old mill with the tree growing through the roof. She told me about him the whole way, where they'd stop, what he'd say, the way he'd tap the wheel at the crossing. 40 minutes to go, 26 minutes worth of road. She still asks me to drive her. She's 91 now, and she never gives me directions anymore. She doesn't have to.